Hello and welcome to OT, the podcast. We're here to talk about watches, time, and how to spend it. My name is Andy Green.
Where have you been, Andy?
Been busy, Felix. I don't know if you saw last week, but we had an OT limited edition drop. Not one, but two watches with anOrdain. So I was a little bit tied up.
Hey, well, we'll get to that in a second, Andy. I don't think we don't want to bury the lead here. It's not all about us and our sellout exclusive limited edition that was incredible and everyone loved. It's also about almost half of the hosts from the Waiting List podcast who are our guests today. I talked to Lung Tun and to Daniel Sum.
Was this so? When you say almost half, is that do we have the majority? Could we get?
I think they've got 5 technically.
Technically 5.
But I think in terms of presence and personality, we've definitely got half.
Oh, at least half.
I don't want to actually talk down the other elements. I know we've got we'll schedule a chat with Jaslyn Lee, which will you'll get that
Exciting.
at some point in your life.
Really switched on watch collector.
Yeah, cool. I think it's really good.
Yeah.
We talk about a few things. Obviously, we talk about the pale blue elephant in the room. We have a fair bit of chat about that. But we talk about other stuff like what it's like, how watch brands deal with China, which I find very fascinating because that's
always
something
interesting.
You hear about that a lot, but like what that actually means and like who does it well and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, Andy, let's debrief.
So yeah, you want to talk about the Patek that you just teased, or the anOrdain that I
want to talk
teased?
about the coolest watch that dropped.
That dropped last week.
Yep.
Yeah, so anOrdain, Model 2, OT edition, off-white dial, pink dial. We launched this 8 a.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time on Thursday. We broke the schedule a little bit to kind of align with a few other things. We dropped a Thursday morning episode, got on with our day. Our friends in Scotland went to bed. We went to bed that evening, and when we woke up, they were all sold out some point in the middle of the night, which is pretty remarkable, Felix.
Now, Andy, you make it sound like we were cool and we weren't like checking WhatsApp every 5 minutes and like, oh my God, someone else bought one. Oh my God, this is cool. Oh my God.
Yeah.
So before we go too far into what happened when, I do want to thank everyone at anOrdain, especially Lewis and Ewan. They were really great. Also want to thank Blake and the Worn and Wound team that gave us a little bit of love on this, and Rob Nuns at Fratello as well. Who
Adrian Barker?
Yes, Adrian Barker. Yep, they all wrote stories, took photos, and generally, were really, really great. And it was quite a bit of a surreal experience being on the other side.
Yeah, it's weird. We've never really sold a product, let alone a watch. So,
well, I mean, we've sold T-shirts, Andy.
Yeah, but
don't
not like
downplay Primo Gelato.
Our e-com presence. It's weird because we spent a lot of time getting ready for it. If you've listened to the Lewis Heath episode, founder of anOrdain, which was the episode last week,
launch episode,
you'll hear all about the process and what went into it, and then we launched it, and it was so weird because on one hand you're used to media really hyping up a lot of watches and seeing stuff sell out really quickly, and you hear everyone say, oh, this sold out in 2 hours, or this sold out in a day or a week, or 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And you never really know. Like, I'm always a bit skeptical of like what was pre-sold,
100% that happens.
Well, they wouldn't let us pre-sell any. But it was just so weird kind of seeing like people you knew and getting like tagged in photos of someone's cart saying they checked out, and sort of getting messages from people asking which style I preferred.
What was weirder for me, Andy, was people that I understand that people that have supported us and that are our friends, or people that we know would buy them. Maybe that's a good way to show support of someone. I find it weird that like some random commenter, well, I'm sure they're not a random commenter, I'm sure they have a personality in their life, but on I think the Fratello argument was like, hey, cool, this is the one I've been waiting for, I just bought it.
Amazing. So, yes, some guy messaged and was like, oh, I had just gone to bed and I saw it, so I ran downstairs in my pajamas to grab my credit card and buy it. I love it. I love it.
I think was the guy, I think his username is Mr. Pink Dial.
Oh, yes.
I'm like, yeah, this is tailor-made for you. You're buying.
He was so excited. Shout out to Mr. Pink Dial. He was so excited for this watch, just because I think we teased the pink.
Yeah.
And he DM'd and he's like, oh, what is this and when? So, we said, look, just don't go to bed too early
Yeah.
tomorrow night, because I think he's based in the UK. But it was very cool, and we're glad that people liked it and responded well. And
Yeah.
as I wear the pink right now, I can vouch for how kind of fun and cool these watches are. And I don't know,
The
like
other thing, and I think this is maybe a bit of a peek behind the curtain, we, as people that have listened to that Lewis one, will know there was a bit of internal debate around white v pink in terms of popularity. And we were maybe not surprised in the end, but it was very, very close. Like, I think
well, they
all the
both
way
sold out.
through, the white was slightly more popular, like maybe one or two sales, I think.
The white had a stronger start from what
Yeah.
we've heard, but I think I don't know. The pink is great. So,
hmm
and the immediate question you get asked is, you're going to do another one? You're going to go do something with somebody else? I don't know. I don't think so.
I don't know. I mean, I'm not in any, I don't think we're going to change our business model into, that sort of
No,
Padinky monthly limited edition drop vibe.
it'd have to be really cool. It would have to be a really cool brand or a really cool concept, I think.
I can see another anOrdain though. I just because
Yeah.
it's a nice relationship and it's,
Mm.
we've built something there and we could, continue on it, but who knows? Maybe,
You know who I actually would be really cool?
uh,
Zarpaneva.
yeah, we could,
Could do some crazy
who,
work.
no, old mate from, we could do a SUF.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, SUF would be
Speaking of,
cool.
we got some.
Look,
Anyway,
if
speaking
you
of
own a
colourful
watch
dials,
brand and you want to work with us,
if your
join
name
our
is Mr.
Discord.
Stern,
Yeah.
and you want to
Pink
do,
5711.
oh my god, it's not
Oh my
yet
god, that would
done.
actually be so freaking cool.
There's a few days left of 2021 left, Mr. Stern. If
Can
you want to
someone
roll out the final
final?
5711,
We promise this is the
don't
last
listen
one.
to the rest of this episode.
Someone who's good at Photoshop, please mock up a candy pink 5711.
Oh
This
god,
I want to see this, and I'd buy that. I might break my Nautilus rule for that.
yeah,
But speaking of Patek, you and the waiting list guys chat a lot about it. This was before the auction. Obviously, the auction
yeah.
happened. Hammer fell at like what 6.2 or something US,
6.5 mil,
6.5 mil US, which is
a lot,
that's a fair bit
including
of,
hammer price, including
including the
hammer
fees.
price.
Yeah, so it's an interesting point that we bring up every time that there's an auction, and it sells to someone. I think in particular in New York, I always remind people that are outraged that if you can tax deduct the difference between the estimate
Retail, yeah.
and the price you pay if you genuinely believed that the estimate is to be correct. So
If they say in the estimate in this one said in excess of 50,000,
yeah,
but I
so
think even if
that's a
yeah,
$6 million tax deduction, right? Or just over $6 million tax
but
deduction.
even if they were like looking at the market value of say the green dial, it's still a 6 million
Oh, it's
tax
still 6
deduction.
million, right?
Yeah,
So whether you want to have a massive, loss this year to roll over for the next 20 years, which is what some people do, or you make a lot of money and you want to, whack it out over a year, it's not a bad way to do it. You see this with Only Watch as well. That's why, and this is why you see these auction houses price estimates at basically retail price, even though everyone knows they're going to sell for a ridiculous amount.
that's for
It's
to
not.
encourage buyers.
It's not to give you an accurate price. It's to give you the tax advantage, which ultimately raises more money, right? So when it's for a charitable cause as well, like I'm okay with that.
Quick question. This is so no one made money on this. Patek didn't, Tiffany didn't, Philips didn't. Why charge a hammer price?
Well,
I guess they're donating the hammer price.
I guess,
Philips.
yeah. Look, I imagine that covers things like insurance and operating costs as well, like in
Sure.
buyer protection, and there'd be some sort of
But
transaction
I think
costs.
no, but I think every cent of it is going to
Mm, I
for
mean,
conservancy, nature
surely there's some
conservancy.
transaction costs though of
I mean,
transferring
I think
credit card. I don't know.
1.5%. I think everyone's going to eat that just for the amount of
Yeah,
publicity.
maybe it's cool though. The watch itself, I don't know. I said this to you in person last week when we caught up. I don't know what Tiffany brings to the party other than blue, but like to me, a collaboration should be, you should both bring something to the party and add value.
That's what
Tiffany to me
Louis
is not a
East
brand
says.
that Tiffany is not a brand that adds value to Patek. Tiffany is not really a value I put a brand I put a lot of value in or a lot of stock in at the moment. They have done some cool collaborations, but that's other people bringing the coolness to them.
But that's it. I mean, and I think I talk about this, so I don't want to get too violent, but that's exactly what this is. The whole purpose of this is to make Tiffany cool.
Yeah, but like I don't know why Patek would do it. I get that there's a relationship.
Get paid a lot of money.
I don't know. It's something. There's got to be some amazing deal for Patek in this.
Yeah.
And look, everyone's talking about it, and it definitely broke the internet.
Not in a good way. I think it's the overwhelming sentiment that I've seen has been negative to lukewarm at best.
Yeah, it's pretty lukewarm. I think it's peak watches, but look, the design itself, the Tiffany stamp looks nice on the blue. That is a nice, aesthetically nice. I didn't understand the markers, because in some photos the markers looked, white gold surrounds, and then others it looked like they were like PVD coated or black, and the black looked really harsh against the blue. So
yeah, you're right. Yeah, I'm just looking at some pics now,
and it looked a little bit.
Yeah, it looks pretty black to me.
But then some photos that Philips put up, it looked okay. This is just going to be the ultimate. SJP summed it up nicely the other week, but it's just going to be this ridiculous status. If you have it, it's just about
until the next rarest one, until they do a complicated one.
Until they do an updated reference for the Nautilus and whatever it's called. I think that what they say, the 6711 or something.
5712. Who knows?
Yeah, who knows? But it's
who cares, Andy? Who cares?
Yeah, it just made the Nautilus harder to get for anyone who wants it. I don't know.
Hey, do you want to get old mate on the phone? Old mate? Today we have roughly half of the hosts of the Waiting List podcast on the line. Daniel Sum is a leading figure in the Shanghai watch scene. In fact, some say he's a founding member of the legendary and infamous Shanghai Watch Gang. On the other side of the call, we have Thun, who is based in Hong Kong and has an enviable collection of watches that you may have seen in such internationally renowned publications like the New York Times, Hijinks, and I'm sure elsewhere. How are you guys? What's going on?
I'm cringing after that intro. Like, seriously,
that's a good
too.
Result.
But I have heard that if you have seen Long in the wild, they're rarer than Tiffany Nautiluses 5711s. I don't know if you've heard the same thing, Andy, but I definitely have.
Well, I don't know if Andy's heard the same thing. And I'm Felix, by the way. It's very confusing with my screen name. That's fine. What I've heard is that if you see Long in the wild, you automatically go to the top of the AP list.
Oh, that's actually true, though. That's actually not a rumor. That's actually true. What you do is, people have been known to, if you go to the AP house in Hong Kong, you have to go by lift.
Sure.
And it's been known for people to follow her in the lift and walk out with her, with the premise that they look like we're together going into AP.
And we slept together.
Just to get an AP.
Well, we seem to be quickly moving from witty banter into scurrilous rumor, but I do want to. This is at the time of we're recording this, the watch internet has been dominated by a discussion, and I want to get both of your takes on it, because look, let's be honest, you guys are probably both a whole lot closer to the Tiffany Nautilus 5711 than I will ever dream to be.
You don't know that.
What do you think about it,
Dan?
Go on, Long. Ladies first.
Come on.
All right. Well, I'll go first, because then I think Long will be more truthful with her answer. But to be fair, I haven't spoken to Long about it, and that probably says a lot just right there.
Yeah. Okay.
I actually think, to be honest, when you said discussion, I thought it was disgusting.
Disgusting.
I think it's such a money grab, and if I came onto this podcast and said I think it's the most wonderful thing, I could come off this podcast and then check my Instagram and people would be killing me, and I think almost rightfully so. It's such an easy money grab. Like, the hype of the green Nautilus hasn't even finished, and you do the most easiest thing to celebrate, like 170 years of Tiffany. Like, could it be any more cliched? Like, literally. And then we just had Only Watch like last month. You had the basically replica of the Packard table clock, and now you produce this shit. I mean, come on. Like,
Did you just say the word shit in the reference to Patek? Oh my lord!
No, in reference to Tiffany.
you're blaming Tiffany.
How dare you?
Okay.
Well, you do know that I believe that the watch is sold through the Tiffany outlet, right?
Yeah. No,
So all my watch
New
guys
York,
going,
New
oh,
York,
you know,
San
we go to
Francisco
Patek.
and someone else.
Yeah, we'll go to Patek and we'll,
Sure.
you know, just like bundle. I was like, what are you going to bundle at Tiffany? Like diamonds, mate. Like, do you have enough?
Yeah.
Do you have enough bank? Because it's not like,
Mm.
you know, I think a lot of people that buy these watches, you know, you do bundle and then you figure out like how much you can get return if you sell those pieces because you don't want those pieces, right? And then think, okay, that makes the value of the piece, such as the 5711, a certain price with on the market, right? How do you do that when it's Tiffany and you're dealing with diamonds and necklaces and bracelets? First of all, most of those people don't even have like buying record, you know, so.
Sure.
It's
Yeah,
very interesting how they're going to sell that.
Well, I mean,
I feel sorry for the sales.
Well, yeah, I think it's a different sales list. Long, what do you think? If that's Daniel being honest, what's your take? Hot or not?
I think if I had to spend my own money, no, no, thank you, right? But sure, if it was free, right? Like I would take one. But I kind of agree with Dan, most of what Dan said, which is just we just kind of had the green one recently, so it doesn't make a lot of sense for them to do something like this. But then again, I always think, okay, if I was a watchmaker, how much can you actually, like, what can you actually do with a 5711? You can some diamonds, you can add, well, like, remember the 40th anniversary? They had the diamond markers.
with all those
but,
words.
like, how much more can you change before it starts to look bad?
Well, so that's the watch itself, you know. Why do you think Patek and Tiffany did it?
I feel like Tiffany went to Patek. Yeah.
Yep.
And I have mixed feelings about this.
I've got a theory. Can I tell you what my theory is?
I can feel them, long.
Yes.
And then you can react with your feelings to my theory. So I think this is a genius move on the half of LVMH, who have recently spent a lot of money buying Tiffany, which was kind of it's very much a blue chip legacy brand, but it hasn't really been cool for a while. Like I was having a conversation to someone. It's like you go to Tiffany if you want to get your girlfriend some nice jewelry, or you want to buy a serious diamond. There's no sort of middle ground from my point of view for Tiffany. If you're spending that, you're buying something nice for yourself, and you're buying stones or jewelry. You're going Cartier, Van Cleef, or De Beers or Graf or something like that. Now LVMH is doing what LVMH does and quickly pivoting Tiffany into something very cool and desirable. So we've had this Not Your Mother's Tiffany campaign, which was followed up with Beyonce and Jay-Z and that lovely Basquiat picture. And this, I think, is LVMH very deliberately leveraging the credibility of Patek in a way that they can to make Tiffany cooler. And I reckon they paid a lot of money to do that.
But I don't think that the unhappiness is actually placed a lot on Tiffany. I think it's more on Patek. I think collectors feel probably, little let down, because not that they were gonna like buy that piece or anything, but more like they expected more from Patek. Because it's like one thing going to Patek and saying we want a Tiffany dial colored, Nautilus, and then there's another thing making it, isn't it? Like Patek to agree to it.
I agree.
And I'm sure Patek don't agree to lots of things. So for that to come out and for Patek to say, yeah, it is to come out, and also the timing of it was, like I said, it was still, people are still clamoring after the green Nautilus. It seems a bit like poor timing. And I think the product itself could be perhaps more tastefully done.
So you just don't like the color? Is that the...
Well, I think it's just that, first of all, we all know a 5711, whatever color, doesn't have any trouble selling.
Sure.
Never, there's a big wait list.
Yeah.
And it's just a change of color, isn't it? Like the dial.
Sure.
And that's it,
I mean,
like,
that's what they
maybe
do. That's
they
what
could have
brands do.
Yeah, but it is. But then that's what a lot of brands do. But you kind of want more from Patek. You know, like I go back to Only Watch. A lot of people were still like basically making a watch. Patek made a table clock. You know, they pushed the boat out a little bit more.
Well,
and I think they could have done that and still get a good result with the with the Nautilus. And I think going through an auction house to auction the first one, I think it's great that everything's going to charity. But again, everybody will think, oh, it's just so staged almost.
Yeah,
That's because takes the romance out a little bit.
I mean, I come back to this quote a lot. It was a quote that we interviewed Tim Mosso for, a while ago, and he said a thing that really, really stuck with me. Watch brands don't love you back. Which it's, I mean, this is what I think. Like it all is staged PR for LVMH Tiffany. But that auction's interesting. I want to know, what do you think? Do you want to place any bets on what it's going to sell for?
I reckon 800 to $1 million.
Okay, US dollars. Yeah. What do you reckon, Long Long?
Oh, I think it's way over $1 million.
I reckon it's going to go
like 1.5.
See, again, I had this chat with someone, and it's like we think it'll go for like 2 million. And that'll be like what we think is a sensible estimate of a stupid price. I suspect what that means is it's going to go like 5 to 10.
Yeah, I'm actually in a group chat with a lot of these like Middle Eastern and I would say like European collectors who only buy Patek, and they're already saying, hey, they're going to put 1.9.
Well, I mean, lucky you're on the list though, Dan.
Yeah,
so you've got to get one at retail.
Yeah, I'll get one at retail, 50K, 50 something K, isn't it? 56K. Yeah.
But going back to what you said, Dan, I think if I had to like reword what Dan is saying, it's like you said, Tiffany isn't that cool anymore. So you're not disappointed by the brand trying to just make money in every way, right? Like using celebrities and whatever, however they want to market it. But you expect a brand like Patek to kind of be like the guard that kind of like protects like there's this level or like their standards that they have to keep. So that you expect from Patek. For them to cave and be like, yeah, sure, like we'll collaborate with you, it's just disappointing, right?
But my thing is, like, I think Patek have done this before. Like, I go back to, I don't remember the details, but there was a big kerfuffle around the Grandmaster Chime, where I can't remember if they did a one-off or they did an initial run of 7 or something, and they were in a particular metal like platinum or white gold, and they're like, you guys, you're going to pay a ridiculous premium, you're going to have these very unique pieces. And then like a few years later, they did a slight variation and made it, air quotes, regular production.
I think
something like there was again, I've probably mussed up the details because, to be honest, I don't pay a lot of attention to Grandmaster Chimes because
I just googled this. It's 72 million.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna. It's not in my future, but like that sort of struck the wrong chord in the terms of like you have sold a promise of exclusivity for a ridiculous price, and then you've pivoted a few years later and done exactly the same thing. But I think the difference is that it's, not a steel sports watch that everyone cares about. Rather, it was a very, sort of over-the-top ornate art piece.
Okay, my other thing is, if you want to still, let's just say we cut Patek some slack and we're like, okay, fine, you collaborated, right? I think they could have made it better by actually educating people about why there's this collaboration.
Yep.
Instead of just assuming, okay, because Tiffany's this color and the end. If they actually did put in work to explain the history and everything, I think I might be able to accept this like better.
Yeah, that's really fair.
Yeah, I also think, okay, you change the dial color, but there are probably more discreet ways of incorporating Tiffany blue because it's such a Tiffany iconic color within a watch without necessarily making it look, it's too much. Do you not think there's too much Tiffany blue in that watch?
I don't hate it. To be honest, I don't hate it. I think it's it's not what I expect from Patek. I think they're very conservative in how they do things. But for them to sort of go I think it's very fitting for like a 21st century sort of vibe. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, so I think we all agree if it was free, right? We would take one, right?
You would, if it was free, you'd pick up any Nautilus.
Yeah, but would you take it
Like-
at retail though?
Okay, let me ask you guys. If it was free, right? And you could pick up any Nautilus, which one
Yeah.
would you pick up?
Any
Yeah,
Nautilus.
any.
Regular white dial.
Am I allowed to sell it on?
No, you can't.
Okay.
Yeah.
White dial 57.
Okay. I would do white dial as well.
Nice. Good taste.
It would be a 5711, and I'm not sure whether it would be the blue or the
Okay.
white. A good chance it would be white.
Go white just because we both went white.
And would
Well, I've put this on a
Yeah.
recent post. Yeah, I think blue, unfortunately, has. Oh man, this podcast is just me hating on the 5711.
yeah,
Like the blue dial has a higher douchebag factor.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, it does. And the white dial actually makes the
Classier.
person you think, oh, just
Mm.
pause that little bit and think, oh,
Yeah.
he went for the white dial, you know?
Yeah, white's
And the
always
piano
the
keys do
option.
look nice.
Yeah.
They do look nice.
Look, I think that's enough. I think that's enough 5711 chat. I don't know, when does it go to auction? Does anyone know?
It's a
No
couple of days' time, isn't it?
Oh, right, sure. They're not massive. Well, we'll know how much it went for by the time this airs. So, we'll collect our bets, so to speak. Moving on, Long, what's it like being a famous woman watch collector?
Okay, first of all, I'm really not famous.
Well, you're
Like,
kind of micro
yeah.
famous. Have you?
Okay,
Hey, Dan, have you ever been in the
yeah.
New York Times?
Yeah, actually, yeah.
Yeah, I have actually.
So it's only me.
Yeah, you mean you haven't?
Yeah.
Jeez.
All right, don't rub it in.
Rude.
Well, I have to say, like, we laugh about this privately. I don't want
Yeah,
to take the answer
yeah.
away from Long, but
Yeah.
we have a lot of private jokes about how she's recognized and how people interact with her. And obviously, with fame comes people have prejudge you. They have an idea of you before they've met you.
Yeah,
So
all right.
we always have a lot of fun with that.
Well, I want to know. How the most famous person on the call answers this question.
Okay, so question again is, how does it feel?
What's it like? What's like life as a famous woman watch collector?
Nothing has changed.
Woman watch collector, not just a famous watch collector.
Nothing has changed other than I just still think this whole thing's a joke. Okay,
What thing
okay.
is it?
To be very honest, so God,
Sure.
how do we get rid of this podcast? Like after
I know. Like
Yeah.
I'm already thinking, crap,
Yeah.
all that said about
It's
that
like
stuff about
yeah.
Tiffany, and now this part for you
Don't
is
worry,
total
guys.
And then I'm
cringe.
like,
No one listens. No one listens to this. It's fine.
I bet the what is it called? Like the title of this episode is going to be like, "You do not want to miss this."
Well, we've I don't know who it is, but some guy T Stern.
Oh yeah,
subscribes,
I'm
so-
sure. Yeah.
It's someone pretending to be T Stern,
Yeah.
obviously. Duh.
No, but so what is it like? Why is it a joke? Why do you find it funny?
Okay. I find it funny because in the beginning, I genuinely enjoyed posting like stuff I thought was nice. And then I was like, hey, this is nice to look back, and kind of use my Instagram as like a personal photo album for myself. And just to be like, okay, I enjoyed these watches. I looked a certain way during this period of my life. Da da da. And then when all that stuff came, like the interviews, I thought, wow, people actually take it seriously. And then I kind of thought, wouldn't it be funny if I made them feel like I was taking it seriously? That I actually like aspired to be like a KOL or I wanted to be famous. And the more I did it, the more I just thought it was comical. And then I thought it was comical that you could curate your life to look a certain way online and people took it seriously. And that people would fantasize and imagine this is the kind of like every day I would, I don't know, have fine dining and then,
Swanning around on boats wearing
Yeah.
Royal Oaks. Do you find I think that's
yeah,
I'm sure there's something in there about
yeah.
real life versus
So,
social media
yeah.
life that's probably quite profound. Do you find it frustrating or stressful or positive to sort of be held up as an example of women who like a traditionally, air quotes, sort of masculine hobby?
I find it stressful, but that's just my personality. Like on most days, I'm like, wow, I'm very grateful. Like, I get invited to this stuff, I get to see all the nice stuff, but I find it stressful because I find myself to be an embarrassment, right? To like
Sure.
female collectors, just because I don't think I carry myself in a way that I would define as like very classy, or the way that I would bring up a daughter if I had one, right? Um, so I would think if I had to raise my own kid, I would definitely want my kid to be very private, very low key, and not flaunt this stuff. So, yeah.
Yeah.
So I always tell the brands that if you had to find like, I don't know, if they use KOLs, or you had to find someone, like please find someone that I would
Yeah.
actually look up to.
Have you? This is sort of maybe the natural conclusion of that. Pretending to be a key opinion leader.
Mm.
Are you finding that is now happening? Like, have you done any work with brands, or has anyone spoken to you about? Can I get your opinion on marketing this watch in this way? Anything like that?
Yeah, all the time. So they're always asking, how should I market this? What should be in the ad? Who should we use? How to do the events and everything.
Sure. Wow.
But I keep telling them that it's cool in the sense that I kind of want to be one of those people that kind of made an impact without knowing I did something or said something that actually changed something. But um, I'm also not the typical customer. So just me saying, hey, you don't need to have flowers doesn't mean that other girls won't enjoy flowers.
Yeah.
Right. So I just like, I don't want to mess it up for them.
Oh, yeah. I find that always the dilemma of women's watch design, from my perspective, is on the one hand, you kind of say a woman's watch doesn't have to be tiny and covered in diamonds and flowers. But on the other hand, if the watch brands find that tiny women's watches covered in diamonds and flowers sell, why wouldn't they keep making them?
Okay, so me and Jacqueline both feel the same about this. I'm not really sure why girls are getting offended by this. Like, there are certain things which I enjoy. Like, I really enjoy being a woman, right? Like, I
Sure.
enjoy that we get to enjoy bags, jewelry, makeup, different hairstyles. I really enjoy that. And I think if watches are this way and designed this way, it's not, you shouldn't take it personally. Like, no one's trying to attack you or trying to mock you. It's just designed this way. If you don't like it, there are other options. The end, right? So I think when they say that women are getting tired of watches being designed a certain way, I think they're talking about a very small percentage of people who are really bitter about the situation.
Sure, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Interesting.
Yeah.
I think Lon Long's contention is that instead of complaining about something,
Yeah.
like do something that actually makes a difference, or just vote with your
Yeah.
feet. Like,
Don't
just
buy
go somewhere
Yeah.
else, you know?
Don't buy a gold Pearl Master, buy a, I don't know, Speedmaster instead.
Yeah. Yeah. No one's forcing you.
That's fair enough.
Yeah.
On to another sort of hot topic. It's not really a hot topic, actually. One that I think you guys are probably much better positioned than me to speak to. Dan, so in my exceptional intro, I mentioned that you were one of the founders of the legendary Shanghai
Right.
Watch Gang.
God.
One
This interview, seriously.
we need to
Like,
You knew what you were getting in for. You've spoken to me and Andy before.
we got to
I
get
have,
a
yeah.
hitman.
yeah, and I'm very comfortable talking to you guys.
Why
That's
don't we
I'm
just
so
get rid of
candid.
him before this comes out?
Okay, yeah, shoot, Felix.
yeah.
Go on.
Look, I'm sure you have the means and the facilities to make sure that this podcast is from the internet. All you need is a Tiffany Patek. What was I going to say? No, so one of the popular sort of narratives from watch brands and in watch media is the prevalence of the Chinese consumer as part of the watch market, with particular reference on the changing generational nature, like, younger consumers and, changing sort of how they buy and what they buy. And, that's it's responsible for the seismic shape up of the watch industry, or, the lack of Daytonas in American boutiques, call it
Mhm.
what you will.
Mhm.
What's your take on this?
Can you be a bit more specific? Because, like, I guess
Explain
you're
all of
talking about.
Chinese watch collecting to me in a hot take.
Well, it's like not even like it's statistically proven, right, that Chinese buy up most of the watches. You
Sure.
know, we're not even talking about um, the segmentation of, like, you know, more affordable watches to expensive watches. It's just across the board.
Yep.
Um, and I guess, you know, like when we set up the Shanghai Watch Gang, um, there were a lot of people that, you know, our age that are interested in watches that, quite frankly, you know, when I was back in England, I had trouble finding these people. Now, maybe that's because I'm just not very good at finding people, or I wasn't very prevalent, like, on the social media platforms.
Yep.
But I'll tell you something, you know, like, Shanghai Watch Gang would not have grown or not have become what it was, I tell you, if it was called English Watch Gang, right?
Yep.
Because the fact that it's the Chinese market.
Yep.
And so the brands almost feel like they have to listen in what essentially is a very closed and poorly understood market, because of the digital media footprint is so different from the West. So it's not like on Instagram where you have, you know, watch CEOs on there and all these CEOs on there. None of them exist on any of the Chinese media platforms. So
Yep.
they don't really have a good handle on what's going on, you know? And it's not like before, I'm not even talking about watch brands, a lot of brands coming into China would really look at how they went into new markets
Yep.
and trying to copy and paste the strategy into the local Chinese market. And that doesn't work, you know, because none of it's the same. So, and those brands which were stubborn to stick generally lost out. The Chinese consumer rapidly evolves. I think now you're seeing this interest in, you know, in independent brands, even in vintage watches. You know, my understanding is that a lot of watches which were in American hands, the stock is now moving all the way to the Asian market, right?
Yep.
So that does show a quick maturation of the Chinese consumer, like even on a younger level. And a lot of younger people, like,
Yeah.
I would like to say I'm in that younger demographic personally.
Sure.
But
Why not?
but you tend to be a bit more well traveled, right? A lot of the people that can afford this stuff, let's be honest, they have a bit of money, right? The families might have a bit of money. And those children are now, you know, pretty much educated in the UK, Europe, or America, Canada,
or Australia,
and then they all come back, right?
Yep.
Now, if you look at when China, you know, made that really feasible of people being allowed to study abroad, and the age group, they're actually our age. So those people have now come back to China, got into those past the middle management, probably even taken over their father's business now, or taking over the reins, and they're bringing a lot of, like, the Western influence over. So I think Jacqueline is a perfect example where, you know, she born in China, raised in China, moved to Canada at 14, or thereabouts,
Sure.
and then spent most of her life there. And so you are really, really mixed culture.
Yep.
And I actually think that's why Lang, me, and Jacqueline do get on, is because we do have that mixed culture where we're always in always trying to balance the cultures in, like, let's say in a certain environment, I should behave like this, but then in this environment, I behave like this. And sometimes you get it wrong because automatically you're thinking, like, I think in the British way, when perhaps I should have thought in the Chinese way. So this new generation that can afford this stuff has a very strong Western influence on them already. And I think that's just pulling everything up, because the locals then see that and they think, oh, you know, maybe we should be doing this. I don't mean literally, but, you know, it does impact on the market.
So I think that's, fascinating. What I'm also interested in, so you're sort of, you've spoken about how the younger Chinese consumer has sort of seen the world and is navigating that sort of identity in relation to luxury. How are the brands evolving? Like, if the consumer has matured rapidly, are the big sort of brands equally doing a good job in terms of their the way they treat the Chinese market, or is it just like have they got beyond that? Let's apply the same model to everywhere else. Like, how are they doing on that front?
Well, as you probably know, Andy, no, Felix, sorry. His
The
name's
name
so
really gets
off-putting.
you, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does, yeah. You know, China isn't the only market, but it's a key market.
Sure.
And Swiss watch industry in general moves very slowly, very, very slowly. So it's not like they think, oh, we definitely need to be doing certain things within the Chinese market.
Yeah.
One thing that I do think, let's say marketing budget, right? A lot of the marketing budget in China goes straight onto KOLs.
Yeah.
Because KOL marketing is a lot more influential and a lot more significant than in the West. So that's like one way. Other ways, I don't really think they, like I said, are in touch, with really what's going on and how savvy the Chinese consumer really is,
Who's doing, like, if you had to sort of pinpoint a brand that is, a Swiss brand that is sort of really engaging well with like Chinese marketing and the Chinese community, who's doing a good job?
Yeah, Dan, who is?
Yeah. Oh, well, no, actually, Long, who's doing a great job?
Sorry, am I on this? I gotta go now, guys.
I got a call on the other line. It's Francois.
Who's doing a good job? I think.
Well-
Are we just looking at figures, or we're actually talking about some?
I think, I don't have any sense of what's effective. I read the press releases. I say, you've opened up another boutique, or you've got this ambassador, or you've got this innovative, I don't know, digital solution or something. But as someone that is as part of that community and world, who do you think is doing well?
Top of my head, I think Cartier is doing really
is?
well. But then, okay,
Yeah, nice.
Cartier. I'm not. So I think I was reading this report. I think it's by Deloitte, and they basically write about the watch industry and what works and what doesn't work marketing wise every year. And they were saying that in China, using celebrities to endorse and putting them in ads and everything works really well. In Hong Kong, it was having in-store events and then inviting them down. And then in Singapore, it was like sit-down dinners. So I was thinking about Cartier because they have been using a lot of celebrities for a while. And I used to think it was such a joke. I mean, because none of them resonate with me. I'm also like, who are these people? Right? But then if I think about some of the collectors I know that live in China who are very, in my opinion, not westernized, some of them have reached out to me asking me about Cartier and just being really curious about the brand. So I think it's working.
Sure.
I just want to use that as an example, though, right? The landscape in China moves so quickly. So Long probably knows, like, the government is really cracking down on many, many things in China. And one of those things is entertainment. So when I say entertainment, I mean specifically how celebrities are packaged and presented on digital media platforms.
Yes.
Sure.
Right. So right now, as a brand, using a celebrity, because there's been a few celebrities that have been caught up in the backlash, which, the government hasn't been particularly happy with how they've been portrayed. And how it's influencing the masses, because they are influential. A lot of brands, why they use them is because they're very influential, but the impact they have on society. So that's already a very rapidly changing space. I think using a celebrity right now in this current climate, it's a bit of a liability. Like, you don't know what the legislation is going to be on that side of things, and then how it's going to impact you as a brand.
You can't sign a 3-year contract if
exactly
the laws change in 6 months.
Basically the trend, because it's never really put into law.
Okay.
But it's like it's frowned upon,
Yeah, sure. Okay. Yeah. That is that's fascinating, and I think that's something that I find it interesting here in Australia. I mean, we're a tiny sort of watch market percentage wise, in terms of the global makeup, but obviously we've got a really significant proportion of domestic Chinese people that are either sort of working, studying, or been here for generations that are increasingly significant, as well as that sort of the tourist side of it. And it's always a fascinating dynamic seeing how retailers and brands balance that traditional Western model of marketing and billboards and deal with new platforms and stuff. I find it endlessly interesting, possibly because I don't know enough about it. But what I want to know more about, let's go with Dan. I was having a bit of a stalk of your Instagram earlier, which we will of course link up, and I noticed something that
Join Long
I
then.
know.
Jeez, God, give a guy a break.
I don't know. I don't know if I stalked
He
the
has a
right
lot of
one. I
secret
don't know if
ones.
you've got like a secret one or anything.
I'm proud of
Long
that
Long
one,
does.
though.
It's called Lugs and Jugs.
Wow. It's consistent branding and it's a clear USP. You'll say that about that account. What I was really taken by was Mickey Mouse.
Yeah.
Talk to me. Is Gerald Genter's less popular and more Disney-ified design something that is near and dear to your heart?
No.
Shit. There goes that conversational gambit.
Like, I was looking for like everybody's like on their Instagram profile putting like world timers and like movements on, or like the Zeit work or something very iconic.
Big flex.
Yeah, and I thought, what is there, which is I think from this podcast, the audience should realize I'm quite tongue in cheek. I don't really take myself too seriously, and I think the Mickey Mouse, is exactly a good representation of that. Where even when Gerald Genter, first initiated that, he was pretty much laughed off and kicked off, in Switzerland at the fair. And I think that's very, in line with my own personality, So, I mean, I'm sure there's lots of people. It's only recently that people even know about that watch, let's be honest, but it's been around for ages.
Yeah, well, shout out to super.corgi, one of my favorite Instagram accounts dedicated to Gerald Genter's Disney watches.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't know if, Singaporean dude. I'm assuming dude.
Okay.
Super.corgi.
Super dog. Oh, okay. Sure.
Yeah, we'll link it up in the show notes, as they say. Well, given that failed miserably, I'm going to change tack and move over to Lung Lung now. What watch are you enjoying wearing the most right now?
I actually had this conversation last night. When I had last year, I went to Singapore and I only brought 2 watches with me because I thought I was going for a month, and then that 1 month turned into 9 months actually. And then so then when I was in Singapore, I was kind of like, man, I should have brought more watches, and I had basically brought the 2 Royal Oaks, so one in yellow gold and then one in the open worked white gold one. And this, I mean, for the past few days I've been wearing the yellow gold one, and I was saying to my friend yesterday, hey, it's honestly like the most comfortable watch. Not in the sense like, oh, it's light and it's the bracelet is comfortable, but it's just that it just goes with everything and it just looks like I tried. Cause
what size is that?
37.
Yeah, nice.
And it just so my motto with like getting ready and looking put together is I try and look for things that look like I tried. So it's like I have long hair, but it's not because I love having long hair. It just looks like I tried to style my hair, but actually I just never comb my hair. So even with my makeup, it's like my eye makeup is like really dark, but not because I want to. It's not because I tried. I just want to look like I tried.
Fake it till you make it.
So that is just like my motto with like getting ready and trying to look put together, right? So it's the same with watches. I want to be able to just wear like a hoodie and sweats and then put this on and feel like, okay, I look like I tried.
Yeah, it just elevates your look.
Yeah.
I mean, a gold Royal Oak will do that, I think, most of the time. Quick question on the 37. We chatted to Cara Barrett the other day, and she's been rocking the 34mm Royal Oak. Have you spent any time with that?
Yeah, I've tried that, and I've tried even smaller than that. They have these ones that are like, I believe 19 or even smaller. It just doesn't work for me.
How do you find the 34-37 split? Like where?
Um, I think AP came out with I think 2 years ago, they came out with the smaller ones, so 34, 35. And then this year they had the black ceramic ones. I don't know if it's the material, I mean, the metal that you're using, or I just don't feel anything.
Yeah, fair enough.
Because I think the watch is designed to be cool, it's supposed to not be elegant. And
Yeah.
I think when you start to downsize it and it starts to look very sleek and feminine, I think it just you just don't get that same feeling anymore.
I think if you actually meet Long Long in person,
Yeah.
you'll see really quickly why the smaller size wasn't. It's not just a Royal Oak. It's any really feminine, elegant, dainty kind of watch.
Oh, I thought you were gonna be like, you will see her true size. Like,
segueing rapidly away from that.
Yeah.
One other thing. So you've been in Singapore with 2 watches for 9 months. Yeah.
Yeah.
Has that caused you to have any sort of fundamental philosophical changes
100%
about the size of your collection and if you need more watches?
Yeah, I mean, even when I'm in Hong Kong and I'm back, obviously I'm like happy to see all my watches, right?
Yeah.
But there are times where I think, what am I doing with my life? Like, none of this stuff is important. And then we live in this little bubble where we spend so much time, like, instead of worrying about COVID, we're worrying about, like, God, this Tiffany dial and stuff like that. So there are times where I'm like, what is wrong with me?
Welcome to late stage capitalism, guys. I think this is where we're at. Dan, same question for you. What have you been enjoying most right now?
I kind of guess it's very similar. I was actually surprised, because the way Long Long described it is very similar to me. I've just been rocking the Reverso 1931 Duo Face.
Nice.
The reason is it is very comfortable to wear, and most of the time it goes with most of what I'm trying to wear.
Yeah.
It's suitable for almost any occasion. So let's say you go to, someone that knows about watches. It's not a watch that you'll see. Even within collectors that like Reversos, it's a special one because, it's got all the, non-Jaeger LeCoultre like logo, it's very clean, this kind of look. And, but then, you're not overdressed. Sometimes you don't want to wear like super amazing watch to some, and just just inconvenient, it's just inappropriate. So it just seems to work with everything. And I just can't stop looking at the dial, to be honest, as well. I've had it for a while, probably about half a year now.
Yeah.
And I'm just not sick or tired of the dial. I just love looking at the dial.
That's amazing. That you still feel,
So the indices are so sharp, and I just still to this day, I just find myself staring at it and just thinking, wow, this is such a simple watch, and I actually quite like more complicated watches.
Yeah.
Like I like things which are a bit of, on the dial, something to look at. But there's just this simple elegance of it, which just holds your gaze. And you just look, and even like the dial is like this opaline kind of shiny to it in the right light.
Yeah.
It's got this sheen to it. It's just really great at different lights. And I just love it.
So this is the Duo Face?
It's the Duo Face.
Which
so
face?
It's got the
which face
petite seconds in the 6 o'clock, 1931. Yeah, Duo Face.
Which one do you tend to rock mostly?
Which side do you mean?
Yeah.
I tend to rock the opaline kind of silvery side. The other side's black with Claude de Paris. Yeah. And that's actually set to Vancouver time because of Jacqueline. So when we're trying to like do the podcast timings, I just flip it around and see like, oh, okay.
Oh, no wonder you're so fast at like converting the time.
Yeah, I always have to go to worldtimeanddateplanner.com or something.
Yeah. Hey, that's such an amazing site. I use that.
I mean, whoever.
But I mean, isn't that a great use of like a watch right now in modern day? The fact that I have to schedule these calls and everything like on both 2 time zones.
You've almost sold me on a world timer. That's cool. I really like that. I think the Reverso is great. Do you find it too long? I always find the cases too long.
So anybody that's thinking about buying Reverso, you got to try it on because it's one of those where you got to go smaller than you actually need.
Sure.
Because the way the lugs, the shape of the case, if it goes anywhere near the sides of your wrist, it looks too big. It looks like the lugs are hanging off. So it's always better to go smaller. And to be honest, the smaller it is, then you get the elegance with it. Originally, I did think, it doesn't work with everything. So it doesn't work very well with t-shirts,
Sure.
right? I think it has to go with a cuff. So it's almost always complements the cuff, but then takes the watch and the cuff to another level every time.
I reckon
Yeah,
those
love
new
it.
the fabricy sort of straps that they've got do a good job dressing it down.
Yeah, I had to change the strap. I have changed the strap
Yeah.
to a nude kind of color to dress it down, because the black or the dark blue it comes in is just too formal, right? And it's very rare that I, well, as Lang said, I dress like a bum anyway.
Trash collector.
It yeah, exactly. Trash collector. Yeah.
Sure.
So that's why
It's a good job.
it just works,
Most
so
important
much better.
Very important to public health.
But there is a piece actually, Felix.
Yes.
I'm so excited
Yeah,
about
me
this piece.
too.
Tell me more.
I was so excited because I've just picked up this Movado, right? And it's a 1950s Celestograph.
What? Hang on. Bear with me while I quickly Google Movado Celestograph.
Google. It's so.
Oh, wow.
And I've been hunting this for a long time.
So it's an
for a good
old.
one.
So is it a 1950, as in it was made in 1950,
Yeah.
or called the 1950s?
No. It's around that period of time it was made.
Because it looks like there's one that's sort of fairly new, which, to be honest, isn't that great. But damn, that's nice.
Yeah, actually, yeah, it's nice.
So,
if you go on a time curator on Instagram, you'll get better pictures of it. But it basically is a pointer date. It's an annual calendar, so you've got the everything there, and the moon phase. There's a moon phase to it as well. It's
got
just
fancy lugs.
Yeah, it's got turtle lugs or flame lugs or cow horn lugs, as people like to call them. But I just can't wait to get it. And the thing is, it's in Hong Kong right now because I had to deliver it to Hong Kong. And I've told Long Long she can go and wear it. And so, yeah. So
do you, Long, do you mess with vintage, or are you 100% modern?
Actually, what's funny is this piece. Dan, I don't think I told you this. You know, when your friends or mutual friends go and find like pictures on Instagram, it goes onto your Discover page.
Yeah.
So Dan had basically liked a bunch of photos from this guy called Mr. Fonz. And then that guy went onto my Discover page. And then when I went into Mr. Fonz's page, I saw this watch. And Dan, I actually saw you comment on it. So I was like, wow, this is a really nice page. And I followed that guy. And then I was like, wow, I want this watch.
How is it Mr. Fonz?
Yeah, Mr. and then Fons. Is there an underscore, Dan?
Might be somewhere.
Have
What's
you
his
found
picture?
it?
Is it some sort of street art dude?
Mr.
It's private.
Fonz. Okay, Mr. underscore Fons underscore.
This is riveting listening, by the way, everyone. I can't find that, but send me a link later, and I'll still.
Okay, I will. So I messaged the guy.
Yeah.
And I wanted that watch.
Yeah.
And then it was like, oh, it's not for sale, blah, 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 blah. And then a few weeks later, I think he set up his site to sell stuff, and then it was for sale. Then I sent it to Dan, and then Dan got it.
And sent it to you in Hong Kong.
And I'm now going to go get it.
Maybe it won't make it to Dan.
You'll never.
Yeah, probably a distinct
disappear.
Possibility. Yeah, it's all right.
Yeah.
I know where she keeps her watches. I'll just pick up something from that watch box.
Sure, fair enough. Hey, so last thing, I'm not entirely sure if you're familiar with this, but the only requirement to coming on this podcast, aside from
paying you guys,
burning bridges with Patek is what I was going to say. I would like a recommendation separate from each of you that does not ideally relate to watches. Perhaps some sort of trashy TV show you've been watching, or a classy book you've been reading, something like that. Maybe even some music. Go.
Okay, me and Dan are huge, we love to read, so I'm gonna do a book one. There's a guy on Instagram called Vex King, VEXKING, and he just basically writes quotes about positive vibes, living a good life kind of thing.
Sure.
And then I found his book, and I went to a bookstore recently, found his book, and I was like, this is gimmicky, but whatever. But then I actually sat down and read the book properly, and I was like, this is amazing. So that's my book I would recommend for anyone that's just looking for, I think, like a quick read to end the year.
Sure. What's do you remember what the book's
Yeah.
called?
It's called Good Vibes.
Affirmation. Cool. Vex King, Good Vibes.
Vex, yeah, Good Vibes, Good Life by Vex King.
Done. Locked in.
Yeah.
Dan?
Well, yeah, like I'm gonna have to recommend the book too because I do read a lot of books, and
Literacy is
actually,
great.
I am very,
yeah.
very happy with the book I'm reading right now. Like, it's called The Midnight Library by Matt Haig,
Yeah.
and
Is it fiction?
it's about, It's a fiction, yeah. It's
Okay.
about a girl. It's actually pretty dark. Like, it's a girl that basically has a poor run of life. This is at the very start. I haven't finished the book yet, and she kills herself.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Great.
Nice.
And it actually the stuff that makes her kill herself is like you could actually relate to. You could actually think, okay, that could happen. That could happen. It's not like totally out there where her life is so bad, right? But you know, so that happens, and then she gets transported to a place called the Midnight Library, which is in between life and death.
Okay.
Oh,
So
okay.
before she goes, and in that library, she can basically experience any life that she would, a lot how we always have like regrets in our life. So we always think maybe, oh, if I had made that decision, like my life would be different. If I had done this, life would be different. I wonder what my life would have been if I'd done. And you always think so positively about it.
Yep.
Sure.
And then this book allows that lady to experience things if she had chosen that path. Okay, so I think one of them's like, in her life, her cat died, and she was like, okay, can I have a life where my cat doesn't die? And then it talks about it, but then it's so cleverly written because it gives lots of different perspectives of life, but it's done through fiction, right? That how you think one thing when actually it could be this thing, and it's very interesting to read that. I think it's very powerful, right? So I'm really excited to actually get to the end of this book because it has really grabbed me. As soon as she killed herself, I was like, whoa, I was like hooked.
Yeah, right. Yeah, cool.
And then I think
spoiler alert for anyone who was.
Well, it's so at the beginning of the book, so that's why I said
it.
But like, it's such a philosophical read, and that's what I set myself a task of reading 52 books this year. It's going to be a struggle. I'm on like 40.
Wow.
And
can I recommend Goosebumps?
This really is like one of those books where I think, you know what, next year I'm not going to read 52 books. I'm going to read less, but I found my genre. I found like what I really like. I've read a whole mixture of books, right, to find exactly what I like. And these philosophical fiction or just philosophical ones are really great for me. Like they do so much for me, for my mental well-being and my soul. And that's what I would recommend. Yeah. Like the Midnight Library. Right. Yeah. Go for it.
Done. Good call. Hey, so before we wrap up, if people want to, I'm sure they all are already, listen to the waiting list, what's the best way to do that? How do they find you?
They can go on Spotify, the Waiting List podcast, and we're also on Apple and YouTube. You can also find us on our Instagram page at the Waiting List podcast, and you can reach out to us personally, which you can find our accounts on that page. So yeah, that's the best way.
And warning, it's hectic. They have more hosts than us.
Have we?
Oh yeah, we've only got 2 hosts. You've got like 5.
Sorry, I thought. Yeah. I mean, you guys are doing a great job, man.
Thank
you. You're so much more professional than us. I mean, your webpage is like, come on, man. Like you're wiping the floor with us a little bit.
This podcast brought to you by Squarespace. Make sure website. Well, Long Dan, it's been wonderful chatting to you. We'll have to find some time to chat to your co-conspirator in Vancouver. That'll be coming up shortly. And if anyone wants to, sell, Long Dan a Tiffany 5711, you know where to find them now. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you, Felix.
That was fun.
Felix, that was really interesting to listen to. I've always wondered what it's like to be a famous female watch collector, and now I
haven't we
know.
all?
Definitely follow these guys. Long, especially her Instagram is top tier. Really cool content on
Key
there.
opinion leader.
Yeah, really interesting voice in the community, and I want to hear more from her. All right, well, Felix, if you want to join our Discord, there'll be a link somewhere. You can hit us up on Instagram, ot.podcast. If you want to email us to give us your 5711 Tiffany allocation, otthepodcast@gmail.com. 5-star reviews are always appreciated.
6-star if you can do it.
6-star if you can. If you want to collaborate with us on a limited edition timepiece, Mr. Stern.
Yep, please ignore everything we just said for the last hour or so.
We bring a lot to the table. And if you like OT, subscribe. Tell your friends, your neighbours, your sister's brother, and
your dog. Tell your dog.
Bark at him or her. We'll see you guys next time.
Bye.